Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, August 26, 2025, and the time is 7 p.m. We're here for the regular session of the Coppell City Council. We do have a meeting, or a quorum present, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will be convening into work session in the first floor conference room. The public is invited and welcome to join us. Thank you. Let's get started. The time's 7 p.m. We're here for work session. We've got two agenda items. The first item is a discussion of the agenda items, and I believe we did have one comment on item B. Yes, sir.
Yes. So on item B, the consideration of the tree police vehicles, I did want to note the sum of the costs in the quotes is slightly different than what's listed in here. The caption here shows $192,229.00, and it should actually be $229.99, so it's off by 99 cents. So I just wanted to point that out to your attention, and if you're okay, then the mayor can make a motion to adjust that during the meeting.
Any questions?
Mayor.
We were taking that, we were passing the hat.
That's a tough one. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for the error.
How did I get the short seat?
I had the same thing.
Ramesh?
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, what's the age of those vehicles that we are replacing?
I'm going to turn to this group.
Casey, you have those? Oh, the vehicles, the age of the vehicles, yes.
We have one is a 2015, 2017, another 2015, and a 2016.
Thank you.
Don?
On the consent item, so it's D, it's a $70,000 for the design work, is that right? That's just the design, the contract, the actual construction will come later, correct? Okay, and that's what makes up that 170 or 164? Yeah, okay. And then on G, so I think that's what Josh is in here. Yeah. So we're paying for that out of fund balance for this year. I think it's an annual contract, right? And so is it already in the budget for the 26 budget we'll approve tonight? It's already in for next year? Okay, let's just clarify. Thanks.
Another? Yes?
Thank you, Mayor. On item C, what was the original total approved budget for the dog park?
Yeah.
2.6 million originally.
And right now we are below that budget?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else? All right, going to move on to the next item, which is, this is discussion regarding TML resolutions. This is going to be a little different. We've never done this before. There are several resolutions that I'd like to have you guys consider that we put before TML to sponsor. And I've got kind of a little briefing sheet, but what happens is, just pass those around. So each year at the TML solicits input from cities on items, and there's 3 items that we've discussed that I'd like to propose to you guys. The first one is to let the state codify the language for the citizens' comments. And you can read about it, but it's basically asking the state to pretty much put some language in the state rule that we've incorporated. My reason for promoting this is if it's in the state law, then it's going to remove a lot of the liability from us. So that's, I mean, and it also keeps you from having a patchwork from city to city. So that's, you know, to me, it's just reinforcing what we've already done in a lot of other cities. If you have any questions, please feel free. The second one was the e-bike. After the debate, we didn't have much of a debate. After the discussion that we had, it was very clear that we need the state to reassess the classification of e-bikes. So Danny and the police department have put together this thought on what we'd like to see, and we're asking TML to endorse it. I don't think this is going to be a hard one for TML to endorse, because they've got complaints like this one coming up all over the place. Almost every mayor I've talked to is complaining about the e-bike problem. And the last one, this is, Kim can probably do a better job of explaining it because I get the language wrong. But this is that interim language that we're required to publish 30 days before we do the budget. It's where we have to state the rate, and we don't have the official approved appraisal numbers from the CAD, so the numbers that we have are basically just a best guess. This is asking the state to move that date down to 21 days, at which time we would have the certified appraised values and could give an accurate number to the citizens. Kim, did you want to?
I think you did a fantastic job.
Oh, okay. She wrote a very, very well worded letter, and I've shared that with our state rep, who is very interested in the same thing, and we'll use that as a basis for TML. The process for TML is that it requires the resolution to be approved by the city council, and these would be 3 separate resolutions. We submit them to TML. The date for that is September 15th, and then those are heard at their business meeting, at the annual meeting. Their business meeting is on Friday morning, the last day of TML. The mayors of each city are the voting members. So I've participated in listening to these resolutions, and they usually have 30 or 40 of them. And they go from one extreme to the other. But that's kind of that's how our input to the TML process lies. We've never done this before. I think this is being proactive in some areas, and in some cases this is just doing what the state didn't do the first time around. Yes, Don?
I was gonna, add, on number 2, and this may be getting too much into the legal, Danny, this is on the e-bikes, but is it a matter of just getting them to allow us to regulate e-bikes, or just differently than regular bikes? I mean, like this specifically tells them what we wanna do. Do we actually wanna tell them what we wanna do, or we just want permission to actually regulate them differently than bikes? Or is that getting too much into legal?
No, I think we should be able to regulate them separate from bikes.
Right, that treat them as a different
Right.
vehicle.
Mhm.
Completely, yeah, that makes sense. I'm certainly in favor of that one, that getting them to recognize that it is a different vehicle from a bicycle, I think is important. So, very much in favor of that one. And I'm in favor of the last one. If it gives us, I guess, what is the impact if we use estimates? I mean, it's just bad data out there.
It really is. It
It's
makes us
confusing.
provide an initial proposed budget that isn't based on certified values.
Yeah.
It's based on a guess of what our values
Right.
would be, and a guess on our tax rate, and to me, it's confusing.
Yeah, I can see it
To the
definitely be
citizens.
confusing. I will be surprised if they go to a smaller number, but I do think that makes sense that we would encourage them to at least do something that has logic behind it. It's not just trying to reduce the number, it's logical.
There's a little history to that number, and it was like when they put this rule into effect, which was about 8 years ago.
I thought it was 2017.
Yeah.
So about 8 years ago,
Yeah,
They just picked a number, and
Oh, yeah.
they didn't work the dates back. And the first time we sat down, we realized, we knew initially, that we knew from the get-go that we were gonna have an issue with it.
Yeah. No,
But
I think that makes sense.
they just picked 30 days or 31 days and went with it.
Right.
Kevin?
Kim, I ask you, and I don't know, this one might be easier, but could we also take a stance that we ask them to publish the certified values 30 days before, like, just so they match, right? Like, so, you know, you
Ours is a more simple
got it,
solution.
and that's,
Because once you start getting into the certified values, that's at the state level, they've got a lot of intricacies about what the appraisal districts have to do, when they have to do it, and how they have to do it.
well, the reason why I put that out there is like, hey, here are two options to fix that. Pick this easier one that we are giving, like that's the logic, but kind of behind, and I don't want to muddy it up, obviously, if we've got a clear ask, and that's the thing, but I mean, maybe the hope would be that they see the easier of the two and be like, well, you know, that makes sense, you know, what they're trying to align, so that was just a thought. But I do agree that, I would love to see clarity and transparency in that, more in that process, and it is frustrating that those processes don't align, so.
And by the way, you are more than welcome to come speak at the TML business meeting.
Oh, there you go.
You can give your
Let's do it.
opinion on any of them. Ramesh?
Thanks,
Come
Mayor.
cost you.
On item 3, I remember, I think Kevin had mentioned that right now we have to advertise in Rambler, and not many people are reading Rambler. So can we add a language that says something online?
They have actually been working towards that end. It hasn't quite crossed the finish line, I don't think, but they are moving in that direction.
They're making some headway in that area, and it would be better if we just kind of let that one
Got it.
morph through its own
And
process.
TML may already have, there's a lot of resolutions that they carry from year to year or every 2 years. We can check and see, they may already have that one in place as far as support of that.
Just a clarification on that, even though it's required in the Rambler, the fact is we publish it any number of, I mean, it's all, I mean, and I'm assuming all municipalities sort of do that also. It's published any number of places
It
beyond
is.
the official
It is.
register, so it's, I know that's the official stance, but it's, I think cities go above and beyond already.
It's being floated through the TV screens at the core right now.
Yeah,
Awesome.
making all those poor people go to sleep on the trail.
Danger.
It's a hazard,
That's a hazard.
safety hazard.
Read your budget. Get hurt.
All right, so anybody, I mean, this TML process is new for me. I mean, I've sat through the hearings on them, but actually finding out how to submit it, how to get it in the queue at TML was something that Mike's staff had to do, so. Kevin?
Clarification on the ask tonight, are you, so obviously you're presenting this to us, are you looking for thumbs up for these 3 individual resolutions tonight? Just so I kind of understand what your ask is.
This is just a presentation of what you're gonna see on your agenda next meeting.
So it will be on the agenda the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, just confirming that that's what we're looking at. So we'll be asked to vote on, and these will be 3 separate
That's correct.
items. Perfect, thank you.
All right, that was, what?
I don't have anything.
You don't have anything else?
Nope.
Yes.
Closing the vote.
Listen, thank you very much. That being said, the time is 7:13, and we will recess from work session and be in city council at 7:30.
Ramesh, I'll show you my dog. I can't remember what it is.
The puppy? Yeah, I saw
Yeah, we just got her.
it's 6 years old.
Howdy, everybody. The time is 7:30 p.m. We're here for the regular session of the Coppell City Council. We had just completed work session, so we will move into our regular session. As a reminder, any persons wishing to speak on any public hearings or the citizen's appearance must sign the appropriate register located outside the council chambers and list your address. Tonight, we're very privileged to have Pastor Danielle Kim with the First United Methodist Church of Coppell to give the invocation, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please remain standing. Reverend Kim. Oh, there she...
Thank you, Mayor, and guests and members of Coppell City Council. It is my honor to be here with you all and offer invocation. Just a little bit about our church, First United Methodist Church Coppell. We have served citizens over 160 years, and some of our ministries include Coppell Cares, offering short-term financial assistance to our citizens, Sac Summer Hunger, Weekend Backpack for Coppell ISD students who might be struggling with food insecurity, and it is our honor to work alongside you to serve the citizens. And on behalf of the First United Methodist Church Coppell congregation, I would like to extend our deep gratitude for your service for our community. And with that, let us center ourselves with a word of invocation. Divine God, we give you thanks for these dedicated leaders and who are committed to do the holy work of serving this community. Grant them your divine wisdom as they do their work this evening. Spark your creativity and ingenuity as they seek to navigate the complexity of issues lifted up. Work through their service to bring peace and order in the city. Empower them to compassionately consider the least among us and those who may be impacted by the most by their work. May their work bear much fruit in this community. May all dwell among us find justice and be honored in their sacredness. In love, we pray. Amen. To the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to do a sound check. So before we get started, we do have one of our council members that is remote, and I wanted to do a quick sound check with Councilmember Walker. Jim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Manny, if we could go up in volume just a little bit on Jim.
Which is a rare thing to require. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And please speak up if I don't see you waving at me.
Thank
All right,
you.
item number 5 is our citizens' appearance. Persons wishing to speak must sign the register and list your address. Presentations by individuals shall be limited to 3 minutes each, during which time speakers must remain at the podium, face forward, and only address the mayor and city council. Persons signed up to speak will be called in the order that they signed up. In order to maintain an orderly and respectful meeting environment and to conduct the public meeting and business, speakers will adhere to the standards outlined in Ordinance 2025-1633. There will be no comments or deliberations from the City Council due to the Texas Open Meetings Act. We did have one person signed up to speak, and that's Mr. Adam Reeve. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor Mates. Some of you may know me, most of you don't. In 2012, I was at the Coppell YMCA and fell off the treadmill. I was basically dead for about 3 minutes. I'm also a Christ follower. I go to Fellowship Church with Ed and Lisa Young. I was basically dead, and the fire department brought me back to life. They did everything they could beyond. I was just indebted. I moved here from San Francisco, and all of my family knows the city of Coppell. They're all so blessed that they saved me. This happened in around August 12th of 2012. I then talked to Kevin Richardson, who's not only the chief, but also my friend, and he suggested we do a lifesaver program for the firemen that saved my life. He said that doesn't always happen with Coppell citizens, so I went ahead and did that. We met in this very chamber with Mayor Hunt, and it was wonderful. Each of them got a lifesaver award as well as documentation to match. But again, I'm not here without the Coppell Fire Department, also the police. I live here. I'm now retired. I love to walk in the Andy Brown Park. I used to work at Sprouts, and I just wanted to personally commend all of the services. Again, I'm not here without their life-saving skills. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. I normally say thank you for your comments, but thank you for your presence as well. So thank you. Item number 6 is our consent agenda. This is routine in nature and generally enacted in a single motion. These items have been previously approved through the budget or past council action. Any item may be pulled and considered separately. Full descriptions are available on the screen. We do have one comment on, or it's not a motion, but we do have one error on item B, and that is on the consent agenda in item B, the purchase of the vehicles from Sam Pack's 5-Star Ford should read in the amount of $192,229.99. This change needs to be reflected in the meeting minutes, so there is a 99-cent error in the published agenda. Council, any comments, questions, or on the consent? Councilmember Hill.
I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda items 6A through J with the one adjustment aforementioned.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Carroll. All in favor?
Walker, Hinojosa Smith, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, and Hill, all in favor. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Item number 7 is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing and ask Ms. Tian to read the item into the record.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. To receive public comment concerning the proposed 2025-26 municipal budget and consider approval of an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the City of Coppell, Texas for the fiscal year of October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026, and authorizing the mayor to sign. So thank you, Mayor and Council. As part of the budget process, a public hearing is to be conducted by the City Council to receive public input concerning the proposed 25-26 municipal budget. As part of the public hearing, I will provide a brief overview of what is included in the proposed budget. But before I present the proposed budget, I would like to take a moment to explain the budget process. For staff, it began in October with the 5-year forecast process. For council, the budget process began in January with the council retreat. Then in early February, starting with what they submitted in the 5-year forecast, department directors and their staff incorporated information from council's retreat into their budgets. Their proposed budgets were submitted to the Strategic Financial Engagement Department in mid-March, and departmental budget reviews were held with the city manager's office in April. A town hall meeting to obtain public input was also held in April. Staff held 3 budget workshops with council, 1 in June and 2 in July, and the proposed budget was filed in the city secretary's office on August 5th and made available at the Coppell Library and posted to the city's website. I would also like to share the multiple ways used by the city, our CIO department, on getting the word out about the budget process. Our CIO team mailed postcard invitations to all households, inviting our residents to attend the Budget Town Hall held in April. Postcard invitations were also sent to all households, inviting them to the budget workshops. Budget information, news flashes, and homepage banners were shared on the city's homepage for 75 days. And according to our CIO team, media coverage included online shares by the Rambler, the Gazette, and the Community Impact, with their media reach to approximately 1.3 million. The CIO team included 24 budget-specific articles in the City e-News, which reaches about 7,500 subscribers. Social media outreach included 72 posts across city channels. The town hall meeting was featured for 1 month on all 29 screens located in city facilities. The budget workshops were also publicized using those same screens. And in addition, the public hearing requirements regarding the budget have been satisfied. So we spend a lot of time and energy making sure that we get all of the information out to our residents. One last item before I present the budget and the tax rate this evening is I do want to thank council for the numerous hours that you have spent working with staff to develop the budget. Your questions, insights, and direction shaped the budget before you this evening. It is a budget that continues to provide exceptional service to the community. It includes items that support the community-driven 2040 plan and balances current needs with long-term sustainability. So thank you for your support and guidance through the budget process this year. And I also want to take a moment to sincerely thank our city manager team, the directors and their teams, and of course my staff who's here with me tonight, for the thought, care, and countless hours that they've all dedicated to building this budget. Their diligence and collaboration shows the heart and commitment each of them bring to serving and caring for our community through the lens of being good stewards of our community's resources. I'm honored to have the privilege of presenting the fiscal year 25-26 proposed budget to you this evening. So now we can actually begin the public hearing on the proposed budget, which again satisfies the public hearing requirements established by Local Government Code 102.006. First, the budget presented to you this evening is consistent with the information you received at the final budget workshop on July 28th. There is nothing new included tonight. What you will see is simply a higher level summary of what you've already reviewed. The information is the same, it's just presented a bit differently. So as I shared at the budget workshops in July, the proposed budget is a balanced budget. A budget is balanced if the revenues and the proposed use of fund balance is equal to or exceeds the proposed expenditures. For example, we have assigned fund balance of the general fund that we are using for one-time Vision 2040 initiatives. And for special revenue funds, it's important to remember that these funds receive revenue that is restricted for specific uses, and revenue is added to fund balance until a specific use that meets the requirements is identified. Therefore, it's not unusual for expenditures of a special revenue fund to exceed the revenues in that year. Next, the proposed budget maintains the current service levels. As I shared during the budget workshops, the budget includes reductions in staff. All eliminated positions are positions that are either currently vacant or will become vacant due to retirement announcements. Each decision was made using a strategic and analytical approach that carefully considered the impact of service levels before determining whether to fill or eliminate the positions. I will share more on this when I present the general fund budget. Next, the proposed budget is built around direction given by council during the January and May council retreats and during 3 budget workshops. Specifically, the direction provided was for the fiscal year 25 proposed budget that it would budget sales tax revenue as if the Rule 3.334 is in effect since litigation does continue. This would increase property tax revenue of the general fund 3.499%, which is the ceiling for the revenue source and not our starting point. It would also include a strategic use of general fund's fund balance and maintain market competitiveness for our workforce. The fiscal year 25-26 proposed budgeted expenditures of all funds is 1.76 more than the fiscal year 25 adopted budget for all funds of the city, which does include the general fund. The fiscal year 25-26 proposed budget of the general fund is just under 2.4% more than the fiscal year 25 adopted general fund budget. The increase in the total fiscal year 26 proposed budget for all funds, as well as the proposed budget for the general fund, is less than the increase in the CPI from January of 24 to May of 25, which is about 4%. This modest increase in expenditures demonstrates fiscal stewardship and the use of strategies mentioned during the 5-year forecast presentation in May and during the workshops. And again, I'll share more on those strategies later in the presentation. This evening, I will start with the total expenditures for all funds combined. And I'm starting here because that is the ordinance that you will consider for approval this evening. I'll start high level and then we'll go more specific regarding the information based on fund types. So this slide shows the fiscal year 26 total proposed expenditures of the city by fund, which includes the general fund, is about $159.1 million. This is almost $21 million decrease from the fiscal year 25 adopted budget of about $180 million. And if you'll recall, last year it included a transfer of a little over $31 million from the general fund to the IMF, and this was a strategic use of general fund's fund balance, and it was to fund facility and traffic projects that were identified for the following 5 years. The fiscal year 26 proposed budget also includes a strategic use of fund balance by the general fund. Specifically, $7.7 million of general fund's fund balance will be used to cover a transfer from the general fund to the municipal drainage utility district and a one-time cost of Vision 2040 work plan projects. Excluding these strategic uses of general fund's fund balance, the total expenditure budget of the city increased about $2.6 million, or again, 1.76%. This next slide shows the fiscal year 26 proposed expenditures by function. Specifically, this slide shows the percentage that each function of the city represents in relationship to total expenditures of all funds of the city. So in other words, it breaks down how much of the overall budget is dedicated to each area of service or operations. A couple of comments on this slide. One is that our first responders, the public safety, the light blue area on the graph, and the public works, the green area on the graph, combine to make up 64% of the fiscal year 26 proposed expenditures of all funds. This slide also shows that the general government is about 16% of total citywide budget. General government is where the enterprise solutions, which is our IT department, our employee experience, which is our HR department, strategic financial engagement, procurement, city council, the city manager's office, the community information office, legal, and combined services are located. These are the departments that provide services to all funds, departments, and divisions of the city. This is also where the transfer to the drainage utility district and then the majority of the one-time cost of the Vision 2040 work plan projects are located. If the transfer and one-time costs were removed from the general government, that amount would be about 11.8% of the citywide budget. So now that you have a high-level view of the total fiscal year 26 proposed citywide expenditures, I'll share the proposed citywide revenues. This slide shows total revenues by fund type, and I'll share more information on revenues as I cover each fund type. What I would like to point out on this slide is that the total fiscal year 26 proposed revenues is about $151.1 million, which is less than the fiscal year 26 proposed expenditure budget for all funds of the city. which, as I just shared, is at 159.1. Please remember that a budget is balanced if revenues and proposed use of fund balance is equal to or exceeds proposed expenditures. And I just shared we are using fund balance of the general fund for a transfer to the Drainage Utility District and one-time Vision 2040 projects. So now that I've shared a high level of the fiscal year 26 proposed budget, I would like to move to the various fund types, and I'll begin with the special revenue funds. So the city has 23 funds that, to comply with legislation and/or governmental accounting standards, are classified as either a special revenue fund or an internal service fund. Each special revenue fund has a dedicated revenue source, and expenditures are restricted to a specific purpose. Property tax is not a revenue source of any of the special revenue funds. However, sales tax is a dedicated revenue source for 3 of these funds: the Crime Control and Prevention District, the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund, and CRDC. And the expenditures of these funds are restricted to local government code and/or uses that were authorized by the voters when the sales tax was authorized. CRDC is also the revenue, also where the revenue and expenditures of the Art Center are recorded. In addition, CRDC has a separate debt service fund and receives a portion of the sales tax collected to pay the principal and interest on CRDC-related debt. So information concerning these funds was shared with you at the June 23rd and the July 28th budget workshops. Next is the Water Sewer Fund. The budget information presented to you this evening is consistent with the information shown to you at the July 28th budget workshop. The Water Sewer Fund is classified as an enterprise fund. Enterprise funds are used when the intent is to recover the cost of providing goods or services through user fees and charges. This slide shows the fiscal year 26 proposed expenses equals about $24.5 million. The slide further breaks out total expenditures by division. And so a few comments on this slide. First, the cost of water division, the light blue area, plus the cost of sewer, the green area, equals 60% of the expenditures or expenses of the Water Sewer Fund. These expenses are contracted costs for water provided by Dallas Water Utilities and for wastewater services provided by the Trinity River Authority. Next, for reference, the fiscal year 25 adopted budget totaled $23.3 million, and the fiscal year 26 proposed is 5%, or just under $1.2 million more than the fiscal year 25 adopted. The reason for the increase in expenses are primarily related to the cost of water and the cost of sewer, which makes up about $800,000 of the increase. In addition, an increase in salary and benefits of about $262,000 is the result of moving 3 positions from the street division of the general fund to the Water Sewer Fund. These positions were moved because an assessment of the job roles and responsibilities showed the 3 positions were more focused on water and sewer lines than on the actual street maintenance project. This next slide simply provides another way to view fiscal year 26 proposed expenditures of the Water Sewer Fund, which is by classification. Whoops. I need to go back. It's not letting me go back. There we go. That's where I need to be. Sorry. Next is the proposed fiscal year 26 revenues of the Water and Sewer Fund, which totals almost $23.9 million. As shown on this slide, the major source of revenue is the sale of water, represented by the green section. The city receives almost 67% of the revenue budgeted, or almost $16 million from this revenue source. The next largest source of revenue for the Water and Sewer Fund is the charge for sewer treatment service, represented by the beige section. The fund receives about 29% or almost $7 million from this source. So water sales plus sewer sales equals almost $23 million, or about 96% of the total fiscal year 26 projected revenues of this fund. The remaining 4%, or about $900,000, is received from interest income, water sewer impact fees, or other revenues. You may have noticed that the proposed fiscal year 26 budgeted expenses of about 24.5 exceeds the proposed fiscal year 26 budgeted revenues of 23.8 million by about 596,000. And if you'll recall, during the budget workshop, I shared that we are budgeting for a demand of 19.5 million gallons per day, but are contractually only obligated to take 18.5, or actually allowed to take 18.5 million gallons per day. The cost of that additional 1 million gallons is almost $357,000. If we did not budget for that additional 1 million gallons, the loss would only be $239,000. And we do evaluate the need for a rate increase, and we do that in the fall, and we do it once we have the current year closed so that we know where we've landed for the current year. And then we bring any rate recommendations to council in November or December. Next is the debt service fund. This fund is used to account for the principal and interest on outstanding debt. The budget presented to you this evening is consistent with the information shown at the July 28th budget workshop. The graph on the right shows total fiscal year 26 proposed budgeted expenditures, and the graph on the left shows total fiscal year 26 proposed budgeted revenues. The proposed expenditure budget includes the amount needed to pay principal and interest on all certificate of obligation and general obligation bonds. The proposed revenue budget, the graph on the left, includes the amount needed to pay that principal and interest. A few items to highlight. One is this fund is the first fund presented this evening that receives revenue from property taxes. The property tax rate can only be set at the amount needed to pay the principal and interest on tax-supported bonds outstanding during that year. The principal and interest due in fiscal year 26 on property tax-supported debt is about $8.5 million, and the property tax revenue represented by the dark blue section of the chart on the left is about $8.5 million. Next, the transfer in is of almost $3.5 million, and that's the gray section of the graph. This is the amount provided by the Water Sewer Fund and CRDC Fund for their portion of the principal and interest payments on the certificate of obligation bonds issued for water, sewer, and CRDC projects. And last, the total of the property tax of $8.5 million plus the transfer of $3.5 million does provide the total principal and interest due for fiscal year 26 on certificate of obligations and general obligation bonds of the city. So before I cover the last fund this evening, which is the general fund, I would like to share some background information that includes the strategies utilized by staff that not only contribute to the modest increase in expenditures of 2.38, which again is less than inflation of 4%, but is also impacting what we refer to as the Austin Gap. I shared this slide at the last budget workshop on July 28th and July 7th workshop. This slide was first shared with council at the May 6th council retreat by the assistant directors during their 5-year forecast presentation. This slide is a visual of what we refer to as the Austin Gap. Basically, the Austin Gap is referring to the limitation placed on property tax revenue generated by municipalities. And yes, I'm referring to what was referred to when the legislation passed as SB 2. SB 2 moved from limiting the increase in the tax rate to limiting property tax revenue. Before SB 2, the increase in the property tax rate was limited to 8%. Today, the growth in property tax revenue is limited to 3.5%. The state has placed a limitation on revenue growth that is basically capping expenditures at less than the growth in inflation. This limitation, that again doesn't even keep up with inflation, causes the gap between revenues and expenditures shown on this slide. The red bar on the slide is the projected expenditures of the general fund. The blue bar represents projected revenues that increase property tax revenue 3.499%, and the gray bar represents projected revenues that keep property tax revenue flat, meaning no increase in the revenue. The Austin gap is the difference between the projected expenditures and the two revenue scenarios. Now, the right side of this slide shows the strategies identified by the Assistant Director Group that could be used to close the gap. You might recall that during the last two budget workshops, as I covered the expenditures of the general fund, I shared the strategies used by each department to help close the Austin gap, beginning with the fiscal year 26 budget, because we know that the strategies employed today will have a continued impact on future years. So as I present the general fund fiscal year 26 proposed budget, I will point out the strategies used to create the fiscal year 26 proposed expenditure budget of the general fund. This first slide shows total expenditures for both fiscal year 25 adopted and the fiscal year 26 proposed budget, which is the top line in this chart. In both years, total expenditures includes the one-time use of fund balance. So if we back out the one-time use of fund balance that's included in the total expenditures of the general fund, we are left with the expenditures that represent the cost of annual operations and maintenance. Specifically, this slide shows you that last year the budget included a one-time transfer of about $31 million to the infrastructure maintenance fund, again for that traffic and facility projects identified over the next 5 years. And for the fiscal year 26 budget, there is that $5.5 million transfer from the general fund to the municipal drainage utility district for drainage projects, and a $2.2 million for one-time use of fund balance for Vision 2040 Council Work Plan initiatives. These one-time uses are from fund balance and are not property tax funded. The remaining balance for fiscal year 26 proposed is about $76.2 million and represents a 2.38 increase in the proposed fiscal year 26 budgeted expenditures of the general fund, and when compared to the 25 adopted. And again, this increase is less than inflation. This slide shows the fiscal year 26 proposed budget by function, and I want to focus on the strategies used to build this budget and the impact of those strategies. So public safety, which is the tan area, includes both police and fire, and they applied the reorganizing roles strategy. Fire reduced staff by 1 position. Police reclassified 2 sworn positions to civilians, and then some tenured officers moved into SRO roles, leaving newer officers in the police general fund budget. Public Works, which is the green area, applied reorganizing roles, moving those 3 positions from streets to the water sewer fund. And then Culture and Recreation, which is the brown area, used reorganizing roles as vacancies occurred, and 4 positions were eliminated and duties restructured with no reductions to programs or services this year. Community Development combined reorganizing roles with reevaluating vendor services. This department eliminated 1 inspector position and will utilize a third party to assist when necessary. In addition, a large portion of the funding for the food truck operation was removed. The efforts around the food truck operation will be coordinated by city staff rather than a specialized outside agency. General Government applied reorganizing roles, reevaluating vendor services, and leveraging technology. For example, the Strategic Financial Engagement Department eliminated one staff accountant position, and the City Secretary's office reclassified the Deputy City Secretary to an Administrative Services Coordinator. Some increases in other areas did offset some reductions, and specifically the Enterprise Solutions Department budget increased to cover security and the first phase of replacing the permit licensing software used by community development. The overall impact is 10 positions were eliminated from the general fund. 3 were shifted to the water sewer, and 7 reduced the city's total employee count. Including an adjustment from the Art Center, the city reduced its workforce by 7.5 FTEs. This slide shows operating expenditures by classification for fiscal year 25 adopted compared to the fiscal year 26 proposed budgeted expenditures. The one-time transfer and one-time use of fund balance has been removed from both years. So again, this graph is only showing operating expenditures, and just like water and sewer fund, this is just another way to look at expenditures of this fund. The total expenditures are the same whether you look at it by function or classification. Last is the revenues of the general fund. Total general fund revenues are projected to be approximately $76.3 million for the next fiscal year. This is an increase of $1.9 million, or about 2.6% from the fiscal year 25 adopted budget. Specifically, this slide shows the 8 revenue categories that contribute to the total general fund revenue. First is property tax revenue. As the graph shows, property tax revenue, the blue portion of the chart, is the primary source of revenue of the general fund. The revenue source represents $46.6 million, or 61% of total revenues of the general fund. The maintenance and operations portion of the property tax rate that generates this revenue is 0.376998. This tax rate is a 2.96% decrease when compared to the fiscal year 25 M&O portion of the property tax rate. And I will present more on the tax rate when we get to that public hearing. The next revenue category is sales tax, and it's represented by the orange area. Sales tax is estimated at almost $16.5 million, or about 22% of the proposed general fund revenues. We continue to budget sales tax as if the Rule .334 is in effect. We are, however, budgeting a 5% increase over the fiscal year 25 adopted sales tax revenue. So as you can see from this graph, the majority of revenue received by the general fund is from property tax and sales tax. These 2 revenue categories account for about $63.1 million, or 83% of the total general fund revenue. The remaining 6 categories represent $13.2 million, or 17% of general fund revenues. There is one other revenue category that I'd like to touch on this evening, and that is administrative services category, which is represented by the green area of the chart. And this is the revenue source, represents about $3.1 million, or 4% of the 17 that I just mentioned. I shared earlier that the general government function provides services to other funds and departments of the city. This is the amount the other funds pay the general fund for those services. The amounts paid by the other funds were determined by a cost allocation study that was performed in 2024. So in summary, the proposed budget includes the anticipated revenues and expenditures of not only the general fund, but all funds of the city. As shown at the beginning of this presentation, the fiscal year 26 proposed budgeted expenditures is $159.1 million for all funds of the city, and the fiscal year 26 proposed budgeted revenues for all funds of the city is $151.1 million. The total impact on fund balance of all funds of the city is a decrease of about $8 million, with the largest decrease, the $7.6 million decrease in fund balance of the general fund. The decrease in the fund balance is the result of the strategic use of fund balance for one-time uses. And that now concludes my presentation on the budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kim. Before we do that, this is a public hearing. We did not have anybody sign up to speak, so I will therefore open it up to the council for questions. Councilmember Prem Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Tehan, thank you and your team for the wonderful work. I have a couple of questions. Actually, I think these questions are not within the purview of the city of Coppell, but some of the seniors have asked this question. So a clarification, the homestead exemption that the seniors will get, that's for next fiscal year, is that correct? And is it $170,000 for them?
So I cannot answer the question. I can answer what the city of Coppell's homestead exemption is, and that's 5%.
Oh, okay.
The over 65 exemption is $100,000.
Okay.
I think you may be referring to some things they're doing with the school district,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not up to speed on that.
Got it, got it. There was also another question from the seniors. They had complained about DCAT property valuation. Are there any city resources or any nonprofit organizations that can help seniors dispute DCAT valuations?
I don't think I can answer that.
Okay, got it.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, that would be well out of our purview to comment on. There are commercial entities that do that.
It's true. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Question for you, Ms. Tin. Thank you for your work, hard work from the team. You mentioned in your presentation there are 10 total employee reduction or FTE reduction.
Yes.
3 is out of the water district and 7 is from the general fund.
So, okay, so there are 10 reductions in the general fund budget. However, we're moving 3 from the general fund to the water sewer fund. So the overall reduction in staff, of total staff of the city, is going down 7.5.
Okay.
Okay?
So how many employees we had last year?
Okay, I can tell you that. So last year, there were 448.47 FTEs, and so this will take us to 440.97 FTEs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, any other questions for Ms. Tien? Seeing none, I would accept a motion. Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing and approve agenda item 7.
Thank you very much. A second by Mayor Pro Tem Carroll. All in favor?
Walker, Hinojosa Smith, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, and Hill, all in favor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. So item number 7 is, oh, I'm sorry, we're on number 8. Item number 8 is a public hearing. So I will open the public hearing and ask Ms. Tien to read the item into the agenda or into the record. However, council, when you get ready to make a motion on this item, item number 8, there is some very specific legal language that needs to be included. So whoever would like to make the motion, please wait till I give you a suggested text to read from.
Thank you, Mayor. The item before you is to receive public comment concerning the proposed 25-26 tax rate of .444976 and consider approval of an ordinance of the City of Coppell, Texas, levying the ad valorem tax for the tax year 2025 at .444976 on each $100 of assessed value of taxable property, on which .376998 is for the operations and maintenance, and .067978 is for interest and sinking, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Thank you again. This next public hearing on the tax rate, I do need to share the various legal requirements that need to be communicated before I present the information on the proposed certified values and tax rate. So pursuant to section 26.05D of the tax code, of the property tax code, the governing body of a taxing unit other than a school district may not adopt a tax rate that exceeds the lower of the voter approval rate or the no new revenue rate, tax rate calculated as provided by this chapter until the governing body has held a public hearing on the proposed tax rate and has otherwise complied with sections 26.06 and sections 26.065. The proposed tax rate of 0.444976 is higher than the no new revenue rate of 0.429096, but lower than the voter-approved rate of 0.448356, which does include unused increments, and it is the rate required to be published. The Truth in Taxation worksheet tracks the difference between the adopted rate and the voter approval rate for a period of 3 years. Those differences are considered unused increments, and the sum of the prior 3 years is added to the current voter approval rate calculation to determine the voter approval rate with unused increments, and that rate is the highest property tax rate the council could adopt without going to the voters. The voter approval rate without unused increments is 0.444979, and the proposed tax rate is less than this rate too. So because the tax rate is greater than the no new revenue rate, a public hearing is required. This slide shows the total proposed tax rate of 0.444976 is 2.98%, or almost 1.4 pennies less than the current 24-25 tax rate of 0.458632. The slide also shows the tax rate in total and broken out between maintenance and operations, or M&O, shown by the green area of the bar graph, and interest and sinking, or INS, shown by the blue area of the bar graph. The M&O rate of 0.376998, the green portion, is the portion of the tax rate that is used to maintain the city's infrastructure, which includes streets, sidewalks, alleys, and the traffic system, as well as our facilities like the core, the tennis pickleball center, the senior center, and the library. It is the rate needed to continue providing services covered by our community development area, our community experience team, and our police and fire departments. Services our residents have not only told us they want, but have also expressed the level of service they want us to provide. It is the rate needed after removing 10 positions from the general fund. The interest in sinking, or the INS rate of 0.067978, the blue area, is the portion of the tax rate that is used to pay the principal and interest payments on the outstanding bonds of the city. The revenue generated from this portion of the tax rate is shown in the debt service fund. The total proposed tax rate of 0.444976 will raise $1.8 million more in revenue from property taxes than was raised in fiscal year 25, with about $331,000 of the 1.8 increase from new property added to the tax roll this tax year. So how is the $1.8 million increase in revenue generated by property tax allocated between the general fund and the debt service fund? The property tax revenue of the general fund will increase just under $1.6 million, or 3.48%. Of the $1.6 million increase, about $280,000 is from new property. The increase in revenue primarily covers the increase in the public safety budget. Property tax revenue of the debt service fund is increasing the remaining $200,000, with almost $51,000 from new property. The increase in this revenue is needed to pay the principal and interest due during fiscal year 26. So next we'll take a look at the certified values, and this slide shows a comparison to the prior year of certified values by category, as a numerical comparison as well as a bar chart. The city's total taxable valuation is almost $12.5 billion, which is a 6.61% increase over last year. The 6.61%, or almost $774 million increase in taxable assessed valuation is, as the numerical chart shows, the result of about a 4% increase in commercial property values and an almost 8% increase in residential property values, and about a 7.6% increase in business personal property. So overall, residential property makes up about 54% of total property value, and the commercial and business personal property makes up about 46%. So we're going to take a deeper dive to see where that $774 million is coming from. And so this slide breaks out that it's coming from new growth as well as reappraisals or new construction. The first section of this slide shows the breakout of new construction by property category. You can see that new construction totals about $74 million, or about 10% of the total $774 million increase in property value. The chart also shows the value of new construction by property classification. For example, the commercial classification makes up about $67 million, or about 9% of the total 774 increase in property value. The growth from residential new construction accounts for almost $7 million, or less than 1% of the total growth. And then the next section shows the amount of growth attributed to reappraisals. Reappraisals are initiated by the appraisal district, and they make up almost $600 million, or about 73% of total increase in value. Commercial reappraisals make up about $90 million, or 12% of the increase in total property value, and residential makes up almost $476 million, and that equates to about 61% of the total growth. Growth in value from business personal property is about $133 million. It represents 17% of the total increase in property value. So this slide is a comparison of the average fiscal year 25 tax bill compared to the fiscal year 26 tax bill. And before I walk through this slide, I would like to point out that this illustration is for city's portion of the tax bill. The tax bill that property owners receive is the total amount due for all taxing entities. So for someone that lives in Dallas County, the city is one of 5 entities listed on that tax bill. And providing one bill is an example of agencies working together to reduce costs, but it does cause some confusion. So now back to this slide. This first section of the slide shows the taxable value of property receiving the homestead exemption is about $580,000, which represents an 8% increase in taxable value. The middle section is where you find the fiscal year 25 tax rate and the fiscal year 26 proposed tax rate of 0.444976. The amount circled in red at the bottom shows the change in the tax bill of a residential property receiving the homestead exemption. Based on the average home value of a residential property with the homestead exemption, the city's portion of the property tax bill will increase about $119 for the year, or just under $10 per month. This represents an increase in the city's portion of the tax bill of about 4.8%. So although there's an 8% increase in the average taxable value, the tax rate is decreasing almost 3%, so that reduces the increase in the tax bill to 4.8. And this is an example of the seesaw effect that I always talk about. As values go up, the tax rate comes down. I don't have a slide, but for someone receiving the homestead and an over 65 exemption, they will pay about $2,100, or about $445 less than someone who receives the homestead exemption only. I think it's also worth mentioning that the city has no involvement in determining property values, as this is the responsibility of the appraisal district, and the appraisal district is required to follow established legislation that is set by the state. And this last slide is a receipt for the tax bill that you just saw. It is the tax bill for the city's portion only. And it shows the average residential property taxpayer is paying about $593 annually for fire protection and paramedic service, and about $300 annually for police service. Public safety totals about $943 annually and makes up 43% of the maintenance and operations portion of the tax bill. Next is public works, which totals about $310 annually and makes up about 14% of the M&O portion of the tax bill. Together, public safety and public works, who are considered first responders, make up 57% of the M&O portion of the property tax bill. Services covered by the Community Development Department totals just under $100 for the year and makes up 4%. And then the Culture and Recreation, or our Community Experiences Department, makes up about $386 annually, which covers services offered by the library, the Corps, the Senior Center, and the Tennis Pickleball Center. These services make up 18% of that total M&O tax bill. The last area is general government, which totals approximately $450 for the year and makes up 21% of the total tax bill. General government, again, is where enterprise solutions, employee experience, SFE, procurement, council, city manager's office, legal, combined services are located. These are the departments, again, that serve the other funds and departments of the city. And I did want to make one note that for this item is that the one-time use of fund balance was removed from this category, since fund balance is being used for those items and not the property tax rate. The receipt also shows the amount provided by the average residential taxpayer for outstanding bonds that were issued to fund things like Beltline Road, Royal Lane, Fire Station 4, and Fire Station 5, just to name a few of the projects. So overall, the average residential property owner is paying about $215 per month for both the services provided by the city and an investment in the city's infrastructure. So this concludes my presentation of the proposed tax rate, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kim. Again, this is a public hearing. We did not have anybody signed up to speak. So, council, do you have any questions for Ms. Tien? Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. So the total value of the property is 11.7 billion from last year to 12.47 billion this year. The difference is about 773 million. And we are raising about $1.8 million in increase in property tax. Were we able to tax on all that 773 million?
So that is the taxable value, the 773 million. And then you can see here that of the 773 million, there is almost 600,000 that is from reappraisals. And then there's about 74 million that is from new value, new property put on the tax roll. And that 74 million equates to about 331,000 of that 1.8 million that you just mentioned.
Okay. So I just want to ask you about the property tax, that it's also part of our discussion here, right? So I just want, the proposed tax rate is greater than the no revenue tax. That's why we are saying it's a tax increase, even though the value, the tax rate is proposed in this area is lower than last year.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Walker, did you have a question? No.
No, Mayor. No, I'm
Okay.
fine, thank you.
I
Great
thought-
job, Tim, as usual.
I thought I saw you wave your hand, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Councilmember Prem Kumar?
I saw Councilmember Walker waving a paper, so I misunderstood. Sorry, Jim.
Any other questions for Kim? With that, I would be open to a motion. Well, no. Oh, you do? Oh.
We'll have a copy.
Oh, I thought okay. So you have a copy of the proposed, or the legal language in front of you, so I will be open to a motion. Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have one question as I make my motion, just for clarification. So the language that is being read here is required by statute, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so, because there's confusing language on here, and I just wanted to clarify that because it sounds different than what was presented, but it's because this is language required by statute, this effective tax rate.
And we're approaching those one at a time, as you heard in work session earlier. This will be
Oh, yeah.
next.
This will be the next one? To
Probably.
At least clarify the language, because they use some terminology two different ways in some of this language. Therefore, I will move to close the public hearing, and that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.444976, which is effectively a 3.7% increase in the tax rate.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Hill, all in favor?
Walker, Hinojosa Smith, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, and Hill, all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 9 is to consider ratification of the vote on the fiscal year 2025-26 annual budget, which results in more revenue from ad valorem taxes than the previous year. Ms. Tien.
Thank you once again, Mayor. This last item is required pursuant to Section 102.007C of the Texas Local Government Code. When a budget raises $1 more of revenue from property tax than was raised in the previous year, this separate vote of the governing body is required to ratify this increase. This separate agenda item is required because the fiscal year 25-26 annual operating budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year. The Strategic Financial Engagement Department does recommend approval of this agenda item.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions for Ms. Tien? Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve item 9.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Prem Kumar, all in favor?
Walker, Hinojosa Smith, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, and Hill, all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you very much for your marathon tonight. Now,
Thank
before
you.
you sit down, could you please tell the council what sign you put up on your door on October 1st?
What sign? Happy New Year.
There you go. She lives for this stuff.
We do. We celebrate. September 30th is New Year's Eve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 10 is the city manager reports with project updates, future agendas, and direction from work session.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And Kim did such a great job of saying thank you to all the folks who have participated to help get us here. I will just say ditto, and that doesn't mean less to the thank yous. It just means you covered it all, so I don't need to go through it all again. I have the boards and commissions. Do you have boards and commissions?
I do.
Okay, I'll let you do that one then.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll cross that one off mine. All right, Service Center, the work is continuing to progress. The exterior brick is underway, and the interior walls, the MEP is going to be completed this week. Veterans Plaza, the contractor is working on the electrical and irrigation. The emergency water connects. TELUS Service has completed 2 of the 3 tie-ins and is currently installing the vaults. That will be a quiet celebration when those projects are finished. Dog Park, the contractor is continuing to work on the fence installation and grading. Freeport Northwestern, the traffic signal poles and mast arms have been installed. They are installing the equipment and the cables. The signal should be operational in the next few weeks. I know one business owner who is particularly excited because he posts about that signal on a regular basis. Not going to call out anybody, Jason McCann. The Magnolia Park, the contractor has completed pouring the trail and has begun building the fence. Woodridge Channel, the project is to repair the erosion in front of St. Joseph's Village along Sandy Lake Road. The contractor has mobilized equipment and the site and should begin work the first part of September. Mayor and council, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Item number 11 are the mayor and council reports on recent and upcoming events. And as the city manager said, I do have a short announcement for the boards and commissions. Our applications are currently open and will be accepted through September 9th. We encourage all residents who are interested in serving their community to apply online for the opportunity to contribute to Coppell's boards and commissions. For more information, including the application, please see the city's website. Item number 12 are public service announcements concerning items of community interest with no council action or deliberation. Do we have any public service announcements? Councilmember Nevels.
Probably should have said this earlier, but I just wanted to take a moment just to thank Ms. Tehan and her entire team, starting back in January, just getting together with the council retreat and then the months and countless hours that you and your team put into this whole budget process. You guys present the information to us in such a way that allows laymen to be able to understand and interpret the data and really do what we do best, which is trying to interpret the vision for the city and set that path forward. So I just want to say thank you to all your hard work. I know you guys, from bringing banana pudding to, just answering all of our questions and being available during this process. You guys make it really easy on us to set the direction. So I just want to say out loud, just thank you guys so much for all of you do. We really do appreciate it. And slightly, on a personal level, just slightly disappointed there weren't more graphics and pictures and stuff. So I think you think I'm learning more and stuff. So I appreciate that. But just thank you guys for all of your hard work. We really do appreciate it.
And I'd like to add in their patience with our questions. So anyway, yes, thank you very much, guys. Y'all have done a wonderful job as usual. Council, any other public service announcements? Got two down here. Councilmember Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to give a brief announcement for Woven Health Clinic. The clinic has a fabulous upcoming event planned. It's called Woven Together, Celebrating Community Champions, and it's going to be at Brookhaven Country Club on October 4th. It's an experience an uplifting evening of community celebration, excitement, and featuring dinner, themed cocktails, a moving awards ceremony honoring local champions, and casino-style fun afterwards. Sponsorships and tickets are available now at wovenhealth.org/event.
Thank you. Councilmember Prem Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank the city staff and the residents that participated in One Coppell's dine-in event. And Mayor, thanks for leading that. We had a fantastic first session of the dine-in. I believe there's a second one coming up in September 4th. And I highly recommend everyone in Coppell to participate. This is one great way of getting to know your neighbors and getting to know all the different folks that live in Coppell. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed that as well. So, Councilmember Nevels.
One last thing, Mayor. I wanted, 2 weeks ago, I was reminding everyone that the Coppell Independent School District has been hosting a series of meetings talking about the future of campuses and on the elementary level. I want to remind the community that on Thursday at 5:30, Town Center Elementary will be the final of the series of 5 meetings that they've had in the community. So just want to make sure that the community was aware of that. They've already visited Lakeside, Cottonwood Creek, Austin, and Mockingbird Elementary. So this will conclude that series of 5 meetings that they're having at the elementary schools. Thank you.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one. CHS, or all of Coppell ISD, has many activities going on, certainly throughout the fall, throughout the school year and everything. One of particular note is the upcoming spaghetti dinner for the Coppell Laureates. So I want to encourage everybody on September 5th, I believe at 5:30 in the Commons over at the high school. You can come support the Larriettes and be with fellow community members before the football game that evening. I believe we're playing Waxahachie that evening. I know where you can get tickets, so just let me know and I can connect you with the right person. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm curious why Mayor Pro Tem wanted to specifically highlight the Larriettes and the spaghetti dinner.
Just because like supporting this community.
It's because he wants to see us, he wants all of us to see him out on the football field during the Dad's Day. All right.
There'll be no
Any-
video taken of that.
Any other public service announcements? All right, thank you very much. Therefore, there being no further business before this council, we are adjourned at 8:40 PM.